Hey everyone, Jay again. Today we're going to be taking staples out of the floor of the two bedrooms in the back of the house. I started on this task yesterday, but there was just so much to do and there was so much dirt to be removed. It really ended up taking a majority of my day. Today I borrowed a shop vac in order to help me remove the dust and the sand and the dirt that had accumulated under the carpet over the last few years of use and obvious neglect. So by getting that all cleaned up, I hope that it'll be easier to remove the staples. I'm also going to treat some of the pet stains that have been there for goodness who knows how long, and to see if we can get rid of the smell out of both of those rooms.
I ended up going to the hardware store and getting this little tack remover. It's really nice. It's like a miniature crowbar that's meant to go underneath staples and pry them up. The channel locks didn't work very well the previous day, so I figured that getting the right tool for the job would make it much easier, and thankfully it did. I still had to spend a little bit of time pulling padding back away from the staples so I could find the heads of the staples that were embedded in the wood. As I got better at using the tool, however, I would not need to pull the padding back anymore. I think getting used to how much pressure to put and at what angle to approach the staples helped a lot as it came to removing them. Thankfully, it wasn't too long before the shop vac arrived. Getting rid of the dust and some of the loose nails and staples on the floor made me more confident crawling around to get the rest of them. It also made it easier to see what needed to be pulled and what was already taken up. I wanted to remove the tack boards and some of the other stuff I had removed the previous day to make sure I didn't skewer myself on any of them while I was crawling around the floor. Working in a clean space is much easier. See, I can tell exactly where I need to work here. In different parts of the room, especially down the middle, there were spots that had a lot of staples, and this is because they were joining two different sections of padding together end to end. You can see that in the shot going left to right now. There's so many staples, but the biggest thing was just continuing to pull. I didn't exactly have any rhyme or reason for how I was doing it, except for trying to go in a line, but I knew that as long as I was still removing them, that eventually they would all come up. By periodically sweeping, it made it easier to keep track of what I'd already done and where still needed to be hit with the pliers. With one room down, it was just time to move on to the next.
There's so many staples. I thought this was going to be, a little bit of an afternoon job, maybe in the morning. Probably finish it up right after lunch. I'm starting to think that this is going to take all day. My hands are disgusting. I need to remember not to touch my face. I think that once I get most of these staples done, I'll be able to clean those pet spots a lot more effectively. That's really where the smell is still coming from. So getting those staples up, being able to mop the floor, not just the spot scrubbing where the pet stains are, and then we'll see if I can, breathe a little more easily.
Before I started pulling the staples in the second room, I pre-soaked some of the pet stains with an enzyme spray. I was trying to loosen any, quote, matter that was left over and stuck to the floor with a little knife before wiping it up. I would re-wet the surface and see if I could let that enzyme spray really work. Sometimes the smell got a little strong, so I opened the window and found that, hey look, there is over a ½ an inch dirt of just deep in this windowsill. I'm not saying that people always need to be cleaning their windowsills, but I was a little bit surprised at just how much dirt had built up. With that much done, it was just time to pull more staples. And there were a lot of them. The staples in this room came out a little bit more easily, I think, because the padding was gone and the carpet was gone long before I got there. There might be something to do with having the staples and the wood exposed from underneath the pad that made them looser, but I'm not really sure. There were also staples from multiple carpet installations. I could find little bits of older, even worse conditioned carpet and staples alongside the first row. So I was effectively removing enough staples for 2 or possibly even 3 carpet installations. That's why ultimately I think it took so long. The process for this room was very similar to the last one. Just pull a lot of staples, do some sweeping, pull more staples, do some sweeping, back and forth until eventually I feel like I had gotten most of them out of the way. Lacking a dustpan, I relied a little bit too heavily on the shop vac to clean up the messes and the piles that I was making. I was getting pretty excited as I got to the end of the largest areas of staple pulling. Underneath this door frame was one of the last few places before I started moving on to cleaning the floors as opposed to pulling staples. And at this point, I was getting really excited. I could tell that these floors are going to be gorgeous whenever I refinish them, assuming I can get rid of the pet stains. That is the biggest concern at this point. The gaps in the floor aren't too big, and the floors are original to this house, which is nearly 70 years old. I think it has a lot of potential, and I'm not going to have to come back with new flooring. The only thing left to do is mop, see if I can get rid of some of the dirt and some of the smell associated with it. Now, working on these staples for the past 2 days has been a very tedious and monotonous job. My knees and my hands were bruised from just crawling around on the floor for hours per day, but I didn't really mind it. It was actually kind of nice and relaxing. I'm not sitting at a desk, and I'm able to work on something that adds value. I think that's something that I've always really been drawn to. I like making things, I like creating things, and fixing, in my mind, is almost just as good as creating. My hope is that by putting a lot of effort into this house and doing these small tasks, it'll be more comfortable to live in. Not only for me, but anyone who comes after me. Now, don't get me wrong, there is a lot of work left to do, not just in these 2 rooms, but throughout the entire rest of the house. But knowing how encouraging it feels just to remove some staples and old carpet, I can only imagine what it's going to be like whenever I take the time to fix larger problems and hone my skills in other areas of the house.
So, end of day 2. I got a lot done. I pulled a lot of staples, pulled a lot of nails, did a lot of sweeping, mopping, you name it. The floors are looking a lot better. I think that with maybe a few more sessions of trying to clean those stains out, we should be pretty good. It doesn't smell near as bad as it used to, and I think that the smell will dissipate a little bit more just by letting it air out some. I did put some cleaning solution in the mop water that should neutralize the pet odors, and I've been spraying it with that enzyme spray. I do have a little bit more to do on the baseboards. You can see that there's carpet stuck to the paint around the bottom trim. I wasn't really going to worry about removing those because, well, the trim is coming off. I'm going to re-trim it as something that's a little bit more modern, something that's a little bit taller, and probably a little bit further from the wall, which will help us cover the seams from the previous flooring jobs that have been done over the years. I am still going to have some staples here and there on the floor to be removed, just because I've been walking back and forth between the 2 rooms, and I'll find a new one just about every time. I'll just keep that little tack pry bar in my pocket, and if I find one, I'll take it out. Moving on, I'm probably going to do the baseboards next, see if I can get those taken out, call it good. It needs updating anyways. So that's it for today. Hope to see you next time.